2, 1. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, many post-conflict states that we've seen all around the world, across the sands of time, in the Middle East, in Latin America, in Africa, and in parts of Asia, at its core have religious, cultural, and ethnic conflict at their base. And in many cases, this has led to the rise of authoritarian regimes where opposition leaders and opposition parties fought so hard to be able to go into war, to be able to overthrow these despots and dictators who believed their race was superior. These people believed that they were the gods who were placed in this earth, who had every right to be able to call that land their own. The problem with implementing ethnic federalism with ethnically fragmented societies is that this is a throwback to the very colonial powers and authoritarian regimes these men, women, and children fought so hard intergenerationally to be able to go against. This reinforces despots and ethnic demagogues and the formation of cults of personality that ultimately lead to even more racism, more bigotry, and more inter-border conflict simply because they don't have a reason to care about you. And as my point of information suggested, it creates in-groups and out-groups, Madam Speaker, and as a consequence, sure, you might be able to make quick decisions, you might be able to prop up governments, but these are all through the lens of a confirmation bias, where the people you're inspired by, the people you give resources to, and the people you're prioritizing all share the same skin color. All of these people share that similarity of your ethnicity, which is why I don't think they have any incentive to think outside of their own paradigm. A few features of our model which we think are relevant for this debate, but also serve as substantive material, responses will be integrated. Firstly, this is a policy debate, and we think that principally and practically, we reject ethnic federalism because this is subject to majoritarian ethnic control becoming very cliquish. It becomes insular and monolithic in the way it carries out policy, and at best, this is an illusion of peace. Something that the previous speaker tried to portray as a Disney movie. This isn't fucking Hoppers, or this isn't like those movies where everyone's cool in their own animal kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. We have human beings with a very real past. Human beings with very real conflict. People who fall in love with people from other ethnicities. People who have brothers and friends in war from other tribes and ethnicities. Because I feel like the previous speaker fails to acknowledge ethnicity, nationalism, and human history are not binary. It's not like all Chinese people, all Arabian people, or Muslim people are the same, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, this actually impedes the very globalized world we live in, which ultimately is at the heart of our extension, that in order to be able to prop up the idea of people forming a newly found state. Why is this particularly bad, right? I think there are a couple of reasons. Number one, this is bad because this undermines the creation of a state wherein a central authority is probably going to be richer, bigger, more popular of an ethnicity who actually rise into power that influence all of these other states. Just like what we see in the United States, right? You have some Rust Belt unimportant states, you have ones with a larger GDP and a larger majority who actually have superiority to be able to influence policy compared to the others. Secondly, this fails to be able to give redress and recompense to the minorities. That is why my point of information was important. Because these particular people on their side are going to get neglected. They are going to be pushed to the fringes of society, and literally the whole Shangwu shit about you make it a wasteland but you call it peace. The previous speaker calls it as, oh, there's gonna be no conflict. But I think no conflict in itself is a problem because the voices of these particular people are all deluded in their own small state. And as a consequence, larger ethnicities and states literally have no incentive to be able to listen to them because, nabigyan na sila ng land, nabigyan na sila ng sariling area. Why do we have to care about them? that undermines the spirit of globalization in order to truly be able to prop up a newfound state, which we think is important. Second argument, right? What is our comparative? Our comparative is a transitionary government. Sure, we can have a transitionary period of federalism without the lens or bias of any ethnicity, but we are going to bite the challenge and defend a unitary form of government in order to be able to promote a certain sense of peace in order to be able to arrive at this. I have 5 reasons why this is going to be good and why a unitary form of government on the comparative is better. Number 1, it fundamentally upholds democratic processes for representation. That is to say, we're literally able to elect leaders, not just a governor under the federalism, all the way up to these particular individuals. Yuan, I'll take your PUI. It's almost 6. 3, 2, 1.
No, we
Yeah,
already
go.
conceded
Go.
that there would be the inevitability of harm on either side. The problem is who mitigates this better on our side, because we've already given multiple reasons as to why a unitary government would be much worse given the status quo that is already presented upon. What's new?
I'm in the part of my speech where I'm making out why it's going to be better. The second reason is that under this democratic power, we literally have mechanisms like referenda and the ability to come up in assembly and to be able to clamor in ourselves in the streets to be able to say that we don't like a particular leader. Thirdly, the formation of a two-party system wherein you have a Senate and a Congress literally enable the ability of people to be represented. On your side, at best, those minorities are the governor of their state. There's no other incentive for them to take a higher unitary position. Fourthly, local government units within a unitary government still exist, so we think that all of the things you accuse our side of can still happen effectively within a unitary form of government. And fifthly, most importantly, Madam Speaker, this pushes a sense of a singular national identity as opposed to on their side when it becomes whoever is bigger, whoever is richer, whoever is more popular, whoever is more charismatic, become winner take all. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate is about a transitionary period, and we think on our side of the House, these minorities need to be taken into consideration. And for all of these reasons, we proudly stand on side negative. Thank you.